The price of underestimating Audrey. The ink on the divorce papers was still wet. Alexander. Alex Thorne smirked, watching his seemingly useless ex-wife, Audrey Kingston, walk out of his life with nothing but the clothes on her back. He had won. He kept the penthouse, the investment portfolio, and, most importantly, his freedom. Alex watched her from the window of his lawyer's 48th floor office in a Manhattan skyscraper overlooking Wall Street. He expected her to hail a cab in the downpour, but no taxi arrived. Then, the shockwave hit. A custom-armored Mercedes Maybach Pullman S650, valued at $20 million, glided silently to the curb. A security professional, not a chauffeur, opened the door, and Audrey stepped inside. Alex couldn't breathe. He knew that car. He knew the obsidian scorpion crest on the door. It belonged to the only man who could destroy him, Damian Blackwood. The meeting was a formality, a final coronation for Alex Thorne. The room at Pendleton and Associates was a sanctuary of mahogany and generations of quiet money. Outside the windows, the New York City skyline was cold and sharp, a mirror of Alex's own sense of triumph. He leaned back in his leather chair, the picture of magnanimous victory. Opposite him was his lawyer, Dr. Arthur Vance, a man whose smile never reached his eyes. And next to Arthur, small and silent, was Audrey. "Now, Audrey," Arthur began, his voice dripping with condescending empathy. "As we discussed, Alex has been extraordinarily generous. The settlement of $500,000, considering your lack of contribution, is a significant gesture." Alex watched her. She wore a simple beige dress he always hated. It made her blend into the furniture. Her dark hair was pulled back in an austere bun, revealing the pale, perfect oval of her face. For 10 years, that face had been his, a pretty, passive, and he had to admit, boring ornament. He had found her working in a small art gallery, a quiet girl with a penchant for obscure painters. He had molded her, given her a life she could only dream of. Her repayment? Simply being there, silently taking up space. Now, he was upgrading. Isabella was 24, a bombshell influencer whose vibrant energy matched his own meteoric rise at Apex Innovations. He was on the verge of closing the Project Oracle deal, a 9-figure acquisition that would make him a legend. He couldn't have a ghost for a wife. He needed a partner who glittered. "Do you have any questions, Audrey?" Alex asked, his tone that of a patient professor. Audrey's eyes, which had been fixed on the polished table, lifted. They were a deep, unreadable gray. She didn't look at Arthur. She looked directly at Alex. "No, Alex, I don't have any questions." Her voice was clear, not weak, not trembling, just vacant. It unnerved him for a split second. "Right then." Arthur slid the final document across the table. "If you'll just sign here, and here." Audrey picked up the heavy gold-plated pen. Alex watched her hand. Steady, not a single tremor. She signed Audrey Kingston, her maiden name. The stroke was fluid, decisive. She hadn't been an Alex Thorne for a decade. She slid the paper back and stood. She didn't cry, didn't make a scene, didn't beg or hurl an insult. She simply turned, walked to the door, and opened it. "Audrey, wait!" Alex snapped, irritated. "The check! Arthur has your check!" Audrey stopped, her back to him. "Keep it, Alex. Consider it a tip for services rendered." She closed the door. The click was as soft and final as the lid of a casket. Arthur Vance chuckled. "Claws out till the end. Don't worry, Alex. Buyer's remorse. She'll be back for that check by next week." Alex laughed, the thread of unease dissolving. "Let her. She'll realize what she lost." He walked to the window, the city sprawling beneath him. He was its king. He checked his phone. Isabella had already sent 3 suggestive selfies. This was his future. He looked down, 48 stories below. He watched Audrey exit the building. Her beige dress made her look like a drab scrap of cotton against the gray pavement. He saw her pause by the curb. "Come on, Audrey," he whispered, a smug smile playing on his lips. "Call an Uber Black. Go back to your gallery." He watched. He waited. And then it happened. It wasn't a taxi. It wasn't an Uber. It was a car that didn't so much drive as it glided. The armored custom Mercedes Maybach Pullman, 150. It was the color of a starless night, so polished it looked wet. It was a car that didn't exist for rich people. It existed for power. It stopped silently right in front of Audrey. Alex's breath hitched. His hand, clutching the phone, froze. A man in a stark black suit, not a driver, a security professional, stepped out from the passenger side, scanned the street, and walked to the back door. He opened it for Audrey. Audrey, without looking back, without a moment of hesitation, dipped gracefully inside and was gone. The man closed the door, got in, and the car merged seamlessly into traffic, vanishing. Alex was frozen. The blood drained from his face. "What was that?" Arthur asked. Approaching from behind, Alex couldn't speak. He just pointed a trembling finger at the street below. The car. A nice limousine. Maybe she has a richer friend than you thought." "It's not a limousine, you idiot," Alex hissed, his voice choked. "That is a Blackwood vehicle." Arthur's petulance evaporated. "Blackwood as in Damien Blackwood," Alex whispered. His day of triumph had turned into cold horror. "I know the crest, the obsidian bee on the hubcaps. That was his personal car. Damien Blackwood, the mythical reclusive billionaire. The man who makes kings. The man whose firm, Blackwood Capital, is the only investor I'm courting for Project Oracle. The man who never appears in public, who's rumored to control half of Wall Street from the shadows. Why? How? His useless ex-wife, his boring Audrey. She hadn't left him. She had been extracted. As the Maybach disappeared around the corner, a chilling, gut-wrenching realization hit Alex Thorne. He hadn't won. He had just made the single biggest mistake of his life. The acid silence. The silence in the lawyer's office was absolute. The only sound was the faint hum of the air conditioning. "Alex, are you all right?" Arthur asked, his voice now tinged with genuine concern. This was not part of the victory lap. Alex staggered away from the window. His bespoke $18,000 Italian suit suddenly felt like a cheap costume. He collapsed onto the chair he had occupied moments ago like a throne. "Get me a drink. Alex, it's 11 a.m. "I don't care if it's sunrise. Get me a scotch, Arthur," Alex roared, the cool executive mask straining. Arthur, shaken, grabbed a crystal decanter and poured a generous measure of Macallan 25-year-old. Alex snatched the glass and downed half of it, the expensive liquid burning his throat. "It's a mistake," Alex mumbled, more to himself than to Arthur. "It has to be a coincidence. Maybe she's a caterer, working a party for him, something." "Caterers don't get picked up by the S650 Pullman, Alex," Arthur said gravely, his legal mind already calculating the terrifying new variables. "Those cars are for assets, or family." "She's not an asset." Alex slammed the glass down on the mahogany, splashing scotch. She's nothing. She likes poetry. She looks at paintings." He was breathing heavily, his mind racing. "She was cheating on me. That's it. All along. The quiet mouse act. She was sleeping with Damien Blackwood." A wave of nausea hit him. It wasn't just the betrayal. It was the scale. He had been cheated on not with a tennis coach or a rival banker, but with a god in his universe. The humiliation was acid. Yes, she was, Arthur said slowly, sinking into his own chair. Then our generous settlement is an insult. A $500,000 tip, Alex. If she's with Blackwood, she could have taken everything from you. The house, the portfolio, half of your future Apex earnings. But she signed, Alex stammered. She took nothing. Why would she do that? People with Blackwood's kind of power don't need to fight over crumbs, Alex, Arthur said, his face pale. They don't take your house. They buy the block. They don't take your portfolio. They short your company. That last word hit Alex like a physical blow. Apex, Project Oracle, Arthur whispered, connecting the dots. The deal you're pitching next week. The one you need Blackwood Capital to fund. He's the only investor, Alex said, his voice a raw whisper. Everything depends on him. He's coming to that presentation Tuesday. He has to be there. And you just divorced the woman who is apparently his new protege or lover. Arthur stood and began to pace. Alex, this is bad. This is so bad it's going to cost you your career. He's not coming to see your presentation. He's coming to watch you burn. Alex's mind replayed the last few months. Audrey's increasing disinterest, her quiet nights in her studio, which he assumed were for art history. Her sudden lack of interest in fighting. He had seen it all as weakness, as her resigned acceptance of her own uselessness. He had been a fool, an arrogant, blind fool. No, Alex said, a desperate new energy surging through him. No, I won't let her. I won't let him. He grabbed his phone. His new girlfriend Isabella was calling. He stared at her smiling, empty face on the screen and hit the decline button. Arthur, Alex said, his voice cold and cutting. I need everything you have on Audrey. No, not you. I need a real investigator. I want to know where she's been, who she's been talking to, what she's been doing for the last 6 months. I need her phone records, her bank statements, everything. I need to know what she has on me. Alex, this is highly illegal. We just got divorced. Her records are private. Do you have a private investigator or not, Arthur? Alex exploded. A discreet one. I don't care what it costs. I need to know what I'm walking into on Tuesday. Arthur hesitated, then nodded. I know a man, ex-CIA. Very expensive. Very thorough. But Alex, what if the answer is simply that she's with him? What's your play? Alex straightened his tie. The movement was jerky. He was a shark. He had always been a shark. He just hadn't realized he was swimming in an ocean with a leviathan. My play? Alex said, his eyes glittering with a toxic mix of fear and rage. It's Project Oracle. This project is flawless. It's my masterpiece. It's easily worth $1 billion. Blackwood is a businessman. He's not going to walk away from $1 billion idea because his new girlfriend has a vendetta against me. He wants to make money. I'm going to show him the money. I'm going to crush that presentation on Tuesday. I'm going to crush it so hard, Blackwood will have to respect me. He'll see that whatever services Audrey is offering, I'm the one who can actually make him rich. Arthur looked unconvinced. And Audrey? What if she's at the meeting? Alex's face darkened. She won't be. She's a gallery girl. This is way above her head. It's a temporary diversion for him. On Tuesday he'll be bored, and I'll be the one signing the real deal. He walked out of the office, his confidence a hollow, fragile shell. The ghost manifests. Alex spent the weekend in a state of controlled panic. He told Isabella he needed to work, that the Oracle deal was in a critical phase. In reality, he was locked in his study, reviewing his presentation, but he couldn't concentrate. Every slide, every data point, every projection was haunted. He kept seeing Audrey's face. Monday afternoon, his private investigator called. Mr. Thorne, the man's voice was gravelly and accented. I have the information you wanted. What is it? Alex said, pacing his living room. It's complicated. The woman, Audrey Kingston, is a ghost. What do you mean, a ghost? I was married to her for 10 years. I mean, the investigator said, that for the last 6 months, she has no digital footprint. Her credit cards show minimal activity, groceries, gas station. Her phone records show one friend, a Sarah, and her mother. Nothing. But 3 months ago, she opened a high-security encrypted email account and has been communicating with one other account. Whose? Alex demanded. The counter account is a dead end, encrypted, routed through 3 continents. But the server it's hitting is a private server registered to Blackwood Capital. Alex's blood ran cold. So they had been talking for months. That's not the half of it, the investigator said. You asked what she was doing. I got into her studio. You were right. She wasn't having a physical affair. No hotels, no rendezvous. She was working. Working on what? Her stupid paintings? No, Mr. Thorne. She has been running highly complex market predictive models, algorithms. I'm talking high-frequency trading level. I've sent you the files. They're dense, but one file name kept popping up. Over and over. A master file. Alex's laptop pinged. A secure file had arrived. He opened it. His heart stopped. It wasn't one file. It was a folder packed with data projections, white papers, all of his work, all of his research. What's the file name? Alex whispered, already knowing the answer. Project Oracle, the investigator said. It seems your wife was very interested in your work. Or perhaps, the investigator added, it was the other way around. Alex hung up. He stared at the files. They weren't his files. They were her files. The ones he'd found on her laptop 6 months ago. The ones he thought were her little hobby. The complex equations she was scratching out. He hadn't developed Project Oracle. He had stolen it. He had stolen it from his wife, a woman he believed to be a simpleton. And now, he was scheduled to present that stolen work to the one man in the world who knew he was a fraud. The origin of Audrey Kingston. To understand the bomb about to detonate in Alex Thorne's life, you have to understand the woman he had just discarded. Audrey Kingston was not a gallery girl. She was a ghost. She held a summa cum laude degree from MIT in applied mathematics and a PhD from Caltech in quantitative financial modeling. At 25, she was the youngest quant on the most ruthless trading floor in New York, building algorithms so predictive they were almost clairvoyant. She was the Eve, a legend in the making. A girl who saw the Matrix and was burning, terribly lonely. Then she met Alex Thorne at a charity event. He was handsome, ambitious, and utterly normal. He didn't see her as a brain. He saw her as beautiful. He was dazzled by her looks, not her mind. To Audrey, who had lived her entire life feeling like an intellectual alien in a world of mortals, it was intoxicating. He proposed. He said, I want to take care of you. I'm the provider. You don't need to work on that brutal trading floor. Just stay with me. We can have a real life. And Audrey, exhausted by a world trying to quantify her, accepted. She quit her life, retiring at 28. She became Midas Audrey Thorne. She devoted herself to art history, ran charities, learned how to bake. But the engine in her mind never, ever turned off. Her marriage was stable for the first few years. Alex loved showing off his bright, beautiful wife, but he only wanted the beautiful part. The death by 1,000 cuts began slowly. It was the dinner parties where she'd try to engage his Apex colleagues about market volatility. Audrey, don't bore them with your old war stories. Alex would laugh, patting her hand. Talk about that new Picasso exhibit you saw. It was the nights he came home stressed over a deal. She would look at his data and say, Alex, your risk model is flawed. You're not accounting for stochastic volatility in the derivatives markets. He would kiss her forehead. That's why I'm the VP, dear. You just worry about making the reservation at Per Se. He didn't want a partner. He wanted a painting, so Audrey retreated. She returned to her hobby. In the studio he had built for her, surrounded by art books, she set up a clandestine server. She created a new pseudonym, Caroline, and began posting complex theoretical models on invitation-only, high-level financial forums just for intellectual sport. She built one model that could predict, with 98% accuracy, the success or failure of tech mergers based on satellite data of their parking lots. She built another that could track the flow of his money through cryptocurrencies. Her persona, Caroline, became a myth, a ghost in the machine that financial titans, men like Damian Blackwood, whispered about. Everyone tried to find Caroline. Everyone failed. Then, about a year ago, Alex started talking about Project Oracle. He was thrilled, more animated than he had been in years. Apex was developing a new AI-powered logistics platform. "It's the future, Audrey. It's going to change global shipping." He was, as usual, completely wrong. Audrey, with just a few glances at his unsecured files, saw the engine. The AI was predictive, yes, but its true genius lay in its ability to analyze and forecast supply chain failures before they occurred. It wasn't a logistics tool. It was the most powerful market-shorting weapon ever created. "It's not about freight, Alex," she said one night. "It's about data. You could use this to short the commodities market. You could hedge against entire national economies. It's a weapon, Alex." He had laughed. He had, actually, laughed. "A weapon? Oh, Audrey, how dramatic. It's a faster way to get sneakers from China. It's adorable that you try to help." He had patted her on the head. That was the night the marriage died. That was the night Audrey Kingston, the quant, woke up. She started her own work. She took the core code of Project Oracle, the part Alex didn't even understand, and built the real version. She fed it data he didn't know existed. She ran models he couldn't comprehend. She named her secret version Oracle Prime. 6 months ago, she discovered two things on the same day. First, she saw an email on Alex's laptop. He was starting an affair with an influencer named Isabella. He had messaged his friend Marcus, finally trading in the reliable old sedan for a new sports car. Time for an upgrade. Second, she discovered he had been in her studio. He had found her Oracle Prime files and copied them. He didn't just steal her life's work. He stole it wrong. He copied the top-level charts. He didn't see the subdirectories, the root-level security systems, the real key to the algorithm. He stole a high-performance engine, but had no idea how to drive it. He was about to pitch a Ferrari as if it were a Ford Fiesta, and in doing so, he would crash it. She saw his plan. He was going to present this brilliant work to potential investors. And at the top of the list, the whale, was Blackwood Capital. Audrey knew Alex. He would use the success of this deal to finally divorce her. He would discard her, the boring sedan, and ride off into the sun with his new sports car and his genius. She looked at herself in the mirror, the beige dress, the calm face, the trophy wife. "No," she whispered, "the trophy is what you win." She was Caroline. She was the ghost in the machine, and she knew exactly one man who would appreciate the machine she had built. She didn't try to call. She didn't seek lawyers. She did what she did best. She hacked. It took her 72 hours to bypass the most secure private network on the planet. She didn't breach their firewalls to steal. She breached them to deliver. She sent a single encrypted message to Damian Blackwood's personal staff. Subject: "Your oracle is false." Body: "Mr. Blackwood, you are being courted by Apex Innovations for Project Oracle. The man pitching it, Alexander Thorne, is a fraud. The data he will present is stolen. It is also incomplete. He has a child's design. I have the masterpiece. Attached is a single data sequence. It is the predictive outcome of the Singapore maritime congestion in 30 days. The Apex model will state a 5% disruption. My model states a 30% disruption caused by a dock worker strike in Jakarta that has not yet happened. You will know which is correct in 10 days. When you do, you will know who I am. Caroline. 10 days later, the Jakarta port strike paralyzed the Singapore shipping lane. The freight market went into complete chaos. Blackwood Capital, shorting the right stocks, made 2.5 billion in a single day. 2 hours after that, Audrey's encrypted phone vibrated. It was an unknown number. She answered. "Ms. Caroline," a deep, resonant voice said. "I am Damien Blackwood. I have been looking for you for a very long time. Tell me, what do you want?" Audrey looked around the sterile, beautiful house that had been her cage. "I want," her voice was steel, "to be free. Then, I want to show you what Project Oracle really looks like." The contract and the collaboration. Damien Blackwood didn't do meetings. He did summons. But not with Audrey. "I can't meet," she had said on that first call. "My husband is controlling. He tracks my movements." "He tracks your movements," Blackwood had said, the disdain in his voice palpable. "But not your mind, I presume." He didn't even know she existed, so they began to talk. Every night after Alex was asleep or out with his new girlfriend, Audrey would descend to her studio. Their video calls were encrypted, routed through a quantum network that left no trace. The first call was an interview. Damien Blackwood appeared on her screen. He was not what she expected. He wasn't a sleek banker. He was in his early 50s, with a salt and pepper beard and the intense, penetrating eyes of a hawk. He wore a simple black cashmere sweater and sat in what looked like a library with shelves bowed under the weight of books. "Caroline," he said, a rare, small smile playing on his lips. "So the ghost has a face, and what a face." "Mr. Blackwood," Audrey said, all business. "I presume my model was correct." "It was not only correct, Ms. Caroline. It was prophetic. It didn't just predict the strike. It predicted the ripple effect, the wave upon the wave. I've had teams of analysts, PhDs from every elite university, trying to build what you just gave me for free." "How?" Then she showed him. For the next 2 hours, Audrey Kingston, the gallery girl, took the most powerful man in finance on a guided tour of Oracle Prime. She didn't just show him the data. She showed him the architecture, the beauty of the code, the elegance of the machine she had secretly built. She explained that Alex's stolen model was a blunt instrument. "He thinks it's a faster way to move boxes," she explained, her fingers flying over the keyboard, showing lines of code. "He doesn't see the human element. His model predicts logistics. Mine," she paused. "Mine predicts chaos." She showed him how Oracle Prime could analyze regional news sentiment, cross-reference it with weather patterns, and factor in labor law loopholes to accurately predict where the next supply chain crisis would erupt. "It's not just a logistics tool, Mr. Blackwood," she said, her eyes burning with an intensity he had only ever seen in himself. "It is a global economic early warning system. In the right hands, it could stabilize markets. In the wrong hands, or in Alex's incompetent hands, it could destroy them." Damien Blackwood was silent for a full minute. He was looking at her, but he was seeing something else. He was seeing the future. "You are not a quant, Ms. Caroline." His voice was soft. "You are an artist, a composer. This is a symphony." "It's a weapon, Mr. Blackwood," Audrey said, echoing the words she had once said to her husband. "And my husband is about to hand it, or the broken parts of it, to you." "No," Damien said. "He is about to pitch it. He wants my money. He wants my validation. What are you going to do?" Damien said, leaning forward. I am going to show up to that presentation. I'm going to sit in the front row and let him pitch his child's design. And after that? And after that? You are going to walk in and show them the masterpiece. Audrey sucked in a breath. I can't. I'm his wife. It's messy. No, Damien said, his voice firm. You were his wife. This isn't a domestic dispute, Audrey. This is a corporate extraction. You are my asset. Perhaps the most valuable asset I've ever come across. And I don't leave my assets in enemy territory. The extraction plan. This was the plan they forged in the digital darkness. Phase 1. The divorce. You need to be clean, Damien insisted. He will try to claim your work as marital property. We must sever the link before we strike. Give him everything. Take nothing. A judge will see a simple, amicable split. Let him think he won. Let him sign his own death warrant. Phase 2. The extraction. The day you sign, my car will be waiting. You will not go to a hotel. You will not go to a friend's house. You will be taken to my private residence. My lawyers will be there. You will sign a new contract, not as an employee, but as a partner. Phase 3. The presentation. Alexander Thorne must fail on the biggest possible stage. He must be exposed, not as a bad husband, but as a fraud. Your revenge, Caroline, is personal. Mine, Damien's eyes glinted, is against incompetence. I do not tolerate incompetence. For the next 2 months, Audrey played the role of the mournful, defeated wife. She let Alex be generous. She accepted all his terms. She let him and his lawyer, Arthur Vance, walk all over her. She played the fool. All the while, she was refining Oracle Prime, working with Damien's team, integrating his vast data infrastructure with her revolutionary engine. On the day of the divorce, she walked into that lawyer's office knowing exactly what awaited her. When she signed Audrey Kingston, it was the resurrection of a ghost. When she walked out of that office, she wasn't fleeing a marriage. She was walking toward her throne. As she slid into the Maybach's leather, the world went silent. The soundproofing was absolute. The driver didn't speak. He just handed her a bottle of chilled water and an encrypted tablet. A moment later, a video call connected. It was Damien. Is it done? He asked. Audrey took a long, slow sip of water. She glanced at the window of the 48th floor, where she could just make out the furious, minuscule silhouette of her ex-husband. Yes, Audrey said, a small, cold smile curving her lips for the first time in a decade. The asset is secured. Phase 2 is complete. Good, Damien replied. Welcome to the game, Ms. Kingston. Now we prepare for Tuesday. It's time to show the world what a real Oracle looks like. Tuesday. The live destruction. The Apex Innovations boardroom in Midtown Manhattan was electric. This wasn't just a presentation. It was an event. The entire board was present. The Apex CEO, a nervous man named Dr. Jacobs, was sweating through his suit, and in the front row, sitting alone, was Damien Blackwood. He had arrived without an entourage, without lawyers. He simply materialized. He sat impassive, radiating an aura of power so absolute that everyone in the room automatically lowered their voice. Alex Thorne stood at the front, a $35,000 suit, a Patek Philippe on his wrist. He was a portrait of success. But it was a lie. He hadn't slept in 72 hours. He had been alternating between panic attacks and bursts of desperate, furious bravado. His investigator's report was in his briefcase like a bomb. He knew she had written it. He knew Blackwood knew. But what could he do? Retreat? Admit he was a fraud? No. His only play was to charge forward. His only hope was that his delivery would be so compelling, so charismatic, that Blackwood would... what? Forgive him? See him as a true talent? It was a desperate gamble, but it was the only one he had. "Gentlemen," Alex began, his voice surprisingly steady. "Mr. Blackwood, we are here today to talk about the future. Not just the future of Apex, but the future of global commerce. We are here for Project Oracle." He clicked the remote. The presentation began. For the next 45 minutes, Alex gave the performance of his life. He was charming. He was dynamic. He strode the stage with an energy he'd borrowed from a dozen TED Talks. He pitched the stolen data. He showed the incomplete projections. He laid out the flawed business model. He knew it was flawed. He knew it was stolen. He was a con artist tap dancing on a landmine. He watched Damian Blackwood's face. Nothing. Not a flicker. The man was carved from granite. Alex finally hit his climax. And so, with a modest investment of $500 million, he finished, breathless. Project Oracle will not just put Apex at the top of the S&P, it will make us the standard. The Oracle, the company that sees the future. He finished. There was a silence. Then, nervous, polite applause from the board. CEO Jacob stood, wringing his hands. "Thank you, Alex. A truly visionary presentation." He turned to the silent figure in the front row. "Mr. Blackwood, your thoughts?" Damian Blackwood rose slowly. He didn't look at the screen. He looked directly at Alex. "Mr. Thorne." Blackwood's voice was quiet, yet it filled the room, silencing even the slightest rustle of paper. "That was a presentation. It was competent." Blackwood continued, walking slowly toward the front door. "Polished, full of very impressive-sounding words. A competent analysis for a first-year intern." The air was sucked out of the room. CEO Jacobs looked like he was going to vomit. "I don't understand," Alex stammered. "No, you don't understand. That is the problem. Your projections are incorrect. Your risk model is a joke. Your entire premise is built on a house of cards." "But the data," Alex protested, his voice rising in panic. "The data is sound." "The data is stolen," Blackwood said, his voice dropping to an icy whisper. "And you didn't even steal it correctly." Alex went white. I object to that implication." "You object?" Blackwood gave a cold, dangerous laugh. "You, Mr. Thorne, are a common, sloppy thief. You broke into a vault and stole the fake jewels left out on display, all while the real treasure was in a safe you didn't even know existed." "This is an outrage!" Alex shrieked, looking for help from the board. They all avoided his gaze. "No," Blackwood said. "This is a correction. You see, I am not here to invest in Project Oracle. I am here to meet its true architect." He turned and gestured to the boardroom doors. The asset secured. The doors opened, and Audrey Kingston walked in. She was not the ghost. She was a supernova. She wore a bespoke suit, razor sharp in a deep midnight blue. Her hair was down, falling in professional, elegant waves. Her eyes were clear and cold. She walked in on a pair of high Louboutin heels that clicked with the authority of a judge's gavel. She was flanked by two of Blackwood's top lawyers. Alex Thorne looked at her, and for the first time he saw her. Not his wife. Not an ornament. He saw the Caltech PhD. He saw Caroline, the ghost. He saw the woman who in the space of 1 week had just unmade his entire life. "Audrey." He whispered the name like a curse. She didn't look at him. She walked straight to the head of the table. "Hello, Alex," she said, her voice amplified by the room's high-tech acoustics. It was calm, cool, and absolutely devastating. She turned to the stunned board. "Good morning, gentlemen. My name is Audrey Kingston. For the last 10 years, I was what you would call an silent partner in Mr. Thorne's life. What he just presented to you was a crude summary of my initial, unpublished research." She took a small, sleek tablet from her bag and connected it to the main console. Alex's presentation vanished. It was replaced by an interface so complex and beautiful, it looked alive. What he calls Project Oracle is a toy, Audrey said, her voice cutting through the silence. What I call Oracle Prime, she tapped a single key, is what's real. The main screen exploded with data, not just shipping lanes. It showed global weather patterns, political unrest, social media sentiment, and commodities futures, all swirling in a single predictive algorithm. His Oracle predicted a 2% dip in coffee futures next month, Audrey said, addressing the screen, but eviscerating Alex. Mine predicted the collapse of the entire Vietnamese crop due to a combination of a fungus caused by a late monsoon and a new regional freight tariff. She looked at the board. Mr. Thorne is asking for $500 million to build a faster rowboat. I am offering you a nuclear submarine. Alex was stammering. She's lying! It's marital property. She stole my idea. Tell them, Audrey. Tell them you were just helping me. Audrey finally turned to him. Her face held no rage. It was impossibly worse. It was compassionate. You're right about one thing, Alex, she said softly. It is about property. That is why I had my lawyers file the patents for Oracle Prime under my maiden name, Audrey Kingston. 6 months before filing for divorce, she gestured to one of her lawyers, who placed a thick, bound document on the table. I also have a notarized, signed confession from your IT friend, Marcus, detailing exactly how you paid him to access my private research from my home server. It turns out he was quite willing to trade his testimony for immunity from wire fraud charges. Alex Thorne's legs failed him. He grasped the podium for support. It was over. It was a clean, brilliant, devastating move, executed flawlessly. The boardroom, which had been in silent shock, exploded into chaos. CEO Jacobs was the first to speak, his face scarlet. Alex, is this true? Alex couldn't form the words. He only stared at Audrey, his mind a howling void. Frankly, Mr. Jacobs, your firm's lack of due diligence is frightening. Damian Blackwood's voice cut through the noise. He directed his attention to the board. Blackwood Capital is, as of this moment, withdrawing all interest in Apex Innovations. Your stock will be worthless by lunchtime. Panic. Pure unadulterated panic. Wait! Jacob screamed, rushing forward. Please, Mr. Blackwood, Ms. Kingston, we didn't know. We can fix this. Alex, you're fired. You're fired, security. 2 burly guards, who had been standing discreetly by the door, moved toward Alex. There's no need for that, Audrey said, her voice calm and commanding. All eyes turned to her. Apex's problems don't stop at Mr. Thorne. Your entire R&D division has been chasing a ghost, while your senior management was, at best, asleep at the wheel. She's right, Blackwood added, a predator playing with his food. However, Ms. Kingston and I are not petty. He and Audrey shared a look, not of lovers, but of co-conspirators, of equals. Blackwood Capital, Damian announced, is not investing in Apex Innovations as it is currently managed. Instead, we are making a $5 billion public offer to acquire a new, independent firm to be led and majority-owned by Ms. Audrey Kingston. He let that sink in. This new firm, Kingston Blackwood Analytics, Audrey continued, picking up the thread. It will be the sole owner of the Oracle Prime technology. We will be launching in 90 days. But this is our intellectual property, Jacobs protested feebly. Yes, Audrey's lawyer stepped forward. Our patents predate Mr. Thorne's work by 6 months. We have a clear-cut case of intellectual property theft. We could sue Apex Innovations into annihilation. The damages would be catastrophic. Or, Damian Blackwood said, there is another way. He looked at the board. We will make you a one-time offer. We will acquire your failed Project Oracle division, your engineers, your data, your infrastructure, for the generous sum of 10 cents on the dollar. That's robbery, squeaked a board member. No, Audrey said. It's a life raft. We get the engineers we would have hired anyway. You get a small, much-needed infusion of cash. And most importantly, you avoid a brutal, career-ruining public lawsuit that exposes your entire management team as incompetent frauds. You get to be saved. Just barely. Damian Blackwood smiled. It's a good deal. Take it. The board was a sea of defeated faces. They knew they were trapped. Jacobs looked at the guards, then at Alex. Get him out of here. Alex was frozen. The guards grabbed his arms. No! You can't, Audrey! Audrey, please, don't do this. I love you. I'm sorry. I'll do anything. He was being dragged away, his $35,000 suit rumpled, his face a mask of pathetic terror. I didn't know. I swear, I didn't know what you were. Audrey Kingston watched him. Her ex-husband, the man who had discarded her, cheated on her, and tried to steal her genius. She saw his new life, Isabella, the new car, the adulation, evaporate in an instant. He was at the door. He let out one last desperate cry. Audrey! She looked at him and said nothing. She simply turned back to the board, her expression unreadable. Now, gentlemen, she said, let's discuss the terms of your surrender. The ghost on the pavement. Alex Thorne's shrieks echoed down the corridor as the boardroom doors closed silently, sealing his fate and his future. His new girlfriend, Isabella, waiting in the lobby to celebrate his big win with a luxurious weekend getaway, watched him being dragged away by security. She saw the tears, the disheveled suit, the animal panic in his eyes. She quietly pulled her phone out of her bag, blocked his number, and called a new Uber to another billionaire's party she'd been invited to. Alex was alone, utterly and completely. He was the one who was left with nothing. The fallout was immediate and spectacular. The Wall Street Journal headline read, Apex Collapse, Useless Wife, Stolen Oracle, and the Rise of Kingston Blackwood. 6 months later, the cover of Forbes magazine shone. The title, The Ghost and the King. It was a photo of Audrey Kingston and Damian Blackwood. They weren't posing together. They stood on opposite sides of a vast glass-walled desk overlooking all of Manhattan. Damian was in the background, in the shadow, observing. Audrey was in the front, in the light. She was looking directly at the camera, her expression not smiling, but focused. It was the look of a person who doesn't play the game, but defines it. Kingston Blackwood Analytics was the most valuable private firm in the world. Oracle Prime had not just predicted the market. It was moving it. Audrey had used it to forecast, and, in doing so, helped mitigate a global famine crisis by rerouting food supply chains 3 months before a drought hit. She was not just a CEO. She was a global force. And Alex? Alex Thorne lived in a drab, one-bedroom apartment on the far west side of town. The penthouse was gone. The Patek was gone. The suits were gone. He was drowning in lawsuits. The name Alex Thorne was poison in the financial world. He was a consultant, which meant he spent his days sending out resumes under fake names, all of which were immediately flagged. He was a ghost, a real one. One rainy November afternoon, Alex was buying instant noodles at a neighborhood grocery store. He wore an old, stained coat. His face was drawn, his eyes hollow. He stumbled outside with his groceries, and a car glided to a stop in front of him. It wasn't a Maybach. It was a custom-armored Rolls-Royce Phantom. The license plate simply read, Kingston. The rear window slid down. Audrey was inside. She was on a video call, speaking rapid French to someone on her screen. She looked up, her eyes scanned the street, and she saw him. She saw the noodles. She saw the stained coat. She saw the husk of the man she had married. Alex's heart hammered. He saw an opportunity, a final chance. Audrey! He stumbled forward in the rain, pasting his thinning hair to his scalp. Audrey, please, wait! The car didn't move. She was looking at him. Just looking. Audrey, I'm so sorry. His voice broke into a plea. I didn't know. I swear. I didn't know what you were. I was an idiot. I have nothing. Please, Audrey, I have nothing. I'm starving. Audrey continued to stare at him. Her face, which had launched 1,000 ships, immobile. She felt nothing. No rage. No vengeance. Not even satisfaction. Just an absence. Finally, she spoke. Her voice clear and tranquil through the armored glass, cutting him to the bone. That was always the problem, Alex. He stopped. What problem? You simply didn't know. She pressed a button. The window began to rise. No, wait! He screamed, slamming his hand against the glass. Audrey, help me! For God's sake, help me! I'm your husband! No, Audrey told herself as the glass sealed him off. You're not. She turned to her driver. Hit it, James. We're launching the Singapore office. I want to be in the air in 10 minutes. The Rolls-Royce eased away from the curb, its motion as smooth and silent as a shark. Alex Thorne was left on the sidewalk in the rain, clutching his instant noodles. He watched the car disappear, a black speck in a sea of yellow taxis. He was the one left at the curb. He was the one who was worthless. He was the one who was left without a word, while she, the ghost he tried to extinguish, was on her way to govern the world he tried to claim. The profound lesson here is this. Never underestimate the quiet ones. They aren't passive. They are observing. The person who truly has all the cards rarely feels the need to show their hand until the moment they are ready to fold yours. What do you think of Audrey's ultimate power move? Do you believe Alex got exactly what he deserved, or was Audrey too cold in that final scene? Let me know your thoughts. I can now help you write the perfect YouTube script description or outro for this new version of the story.